Good evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye. Let's get straight to it. Maharashtra has received the heaviest rainfall it has received in 40 years and it's wreaking havoc across the state. In the last 24 hours of incessant rainfall has caused landslides and floods in various districts. More than 36 people have been killed, according to several reports, in two separate cases of landslides in the state of Maharashtra. According to the Indian Express, there was a landslide at the Mahad Taluka at Raigad district and it killed 36 people. Around 35 homes were buried under the debris. Several people are feared trapped still. According to the district administration, there are 110 villages in the district which are landslide prone. Out of these, 20 are particularly at risk. According to ANI, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has said the rescue operations are underway and he has ordered the evacuation and relocation of people who are living in areas where there is a possibility of landslides. We also understand that Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah has spoken with the Maharashtra Chief Minister and assured all possible help from the centre. In the meantime, the Indian Met Department has predicted fairly widespread rainfall, with isolated heavy rainfall likely to continue over the next 2 or 3 days on the western coast and then reduction thereafter. We do know, of course, that the farmers who were protesting outside of Delhi since November last year, a group of those farmers have now moved to Jantar Mantar to protest closer to Parliament now that a Parliament session is on. BJP MP and Minister Meenakshi Lekhi, in a press conference, called the protesting farmers Mawalis yesterday. While addressing the press conference, she said, "Do not call them farmers, they are Mawalis. The country knows what happened on the 26th of January. She went on to say, these are criminal acts. What happened on January 26th was also shameful criminal activity. The opposition promoted such activities. The farmers, as you know, have been protesting the 3 farm laws that were passed in the monsoon session last year. An update right now from Parliament, as I promised you every day. A day after snatching a paper from the hand of the IT minister while he was speaking and tearing it apart, TMC MP Shantanu Sen has been suspended for the remainder of the session from Rajya Sabha. Sen was among several other opposition leaders who had entered the well in protest of the Pegasus snooping controversy. As the IT minister rose to speak, there were slogans that says, "Jasusi band karo, band karo." Of course, TMC member Shantanu Sen refused to leave the house of Rajya Sabha despite being suspended and the deputy chairperson asking him to leave many times. Rajya Sabha was then adjourned for lunch. Post-lunch in Rajya Sabha, the leader of the opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge, sought a discussion on the Pegasus snooping issue as per notice given by him. But the deputy leader of the Rajya Sabha, Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, said a statement had already been made by the minister after the issue was raised earlier. He said, "We've also seen the behavior that the minister had faced." Finally, the chair adjourned Rajya Sabha until Monday. In Lok Sabha has been adjourned until Monday as well. The health minister spoke in Lok Sabha. He basically said that the Prime Minister many times had said that the vaccination program should not be politicized. It is our aim to vaccinate every citizen who's above the age of 18. This is not the time to do politics, said the Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia in Lok Sabha today. Lok Sabha was also adjourned until Monday as there were continuous protests and uproar from the opposition on the Pegasus project. Also, members of the opposition staged a protest outside of Parliament demanding a judicial inquiry into the Pegasus controversy. A couple of other stories coming out of Parliament at this time. The Centre has informed Parliament that 645 children lost their parents to COVID between April and May 28th this year. Uttar Pradesh has the highest number of orphan children at 158, followed by Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. Also in Parliament yesterday, the Women and Child Ministry submitted to Parliament in a written answer that the government has no data right now regarding increases of cases of child abuse due to the lockdown because of COVID situations. The data on the increase of child marriage across the country due to financial difficulties as well, it said it did not have. The Union Railways and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw informed Parliament today that the Railways has lost 2,903 employees altogether due to COVID. He said settlement of dues are being made with the families of the deceased of railway employees in 2,782 cases. He also went on to say that the centre is making every effort to ensure that railway employees are vaccinated at the earliest. And on to other news outside of Parliament. In a terrible case that has now come up, a 17-year-old girl in Uttar Pradesh died after she was brutally assaulted by her own family members. According to a report in NDTV, while the police have not gone on record to say why the girl was beaten by her family, her aunt has made a statement to the press saying the family members had a problem with her lifestyle. The girl's mother, according to some reports, says the girl was on a fast, but she wore jeans and a top even after her evening bath and was going for puja when her father told her that her attire was not appropriate. She resisted. The men of the family then attacked her with sticks, and they claimed they were taking her to get medical attention, but they instead threw her off a bridge. Reports say the grandfather of the girl has been arrested while the accused uncles are still on the run. The Jammu and Kashmir police have averted a cross-border terror plot by shooting down a drone carrying IED material weighing 5 kgs in the border belt of Jammu and Kashmir. According to NDTV, the additional director of police, Mukesh Singh, told reporters that about 1 a.m., the drone made a low flight to release the payload of IED, which is explosives, when it was shot down. He said the drone that was shot down was assembled with equipment made in China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. A quick look at our COVID numbers now. India reported 35,342 new COVID cases, 483 deaths in the last 24 hours. The numbers in Kerala are still worrying. Kerala reported 17,518 new COVID cases, up from 12,000 a couple of weeks ago, and 132 deaths. The test positivity rate in the state of Kerala is now 13.63%. Remember, the rest of the country is testing at about 2%. So 13% is definitely worrying. Himachal Pradesh, meanwhile, has announced the reopening of its schools for classes 10 to 12 from the 2nd of August with COVID-appropriate behavior. Classes 5 to 8 will be allowed to visit school to clear their doubts for now. An update on the world of business and economy. The Zomato stock soared on its day one by 80%. On its Friday debut following a $1.3 billion initial public offering, a very successful one in India. Zomato has become India's first sort of internet startup unicorn company to list on our stock market and has done so really, really well. Its IPO is India's biggest IPO since March 2020, and it's got 35 times more bids from anchor investors than the shares it intended to sell. Of course, Zomato's first day performance boosts confidence and serves sort of like a barometer for how the other IPOs might likely do as well. Remember, Paytm is in the wings right now. So is Flipkart, who have all lined up IPOs for this year. And it also sort of sends a message across the world that India is recovering from COVID and the Indian market is still extremely active. But our audience must remember, while the Indian market has been very rewarding for its investors, it hasn't really mirrored, quite honestly, what has gone on the ground. Let's take a look at news coming in right now from across the world. The US Department of Defense has announced that the US has carried out airstrikes across Afghanistan in the last several days as part of an effort to support the Afghanistan security forces fighting Taliban insurgents. This comes after the Taliban has swept across Afghanistan, claiming to acquire 85% of the territory in the country. The withdrawal of US troops is now 95% complete, according to US President Joe Biden, and is set to be completed by the end of August. Remember, US plans to be completely out of Afghanistan before the 11th of September. However, there are approximately 650 troops that are set to remain in the country to secure US diplomatic presence in Afghanistan. China has rejected the WHO's plan for a second investigation on the origins of COVID inside the state. China said that the investigation showed disrespect and arrogance towards science. Last week, the WHO said a second stage of international probe should include audits of Chinese labs and increase the pressure on the United States for an investigation into the biotech lab in Wuhan. Meantime, Chinese officials and state media have pushed for an alternate theory which says that the virus escaped from a US military research lab. The Australian drug regulator has approved the use of Pfizer's COVID vaccine for ages 12 to 15. This comes after the US, the EU and Britain have also approved the vaccine for children. Around 15% of the total adult population in Australia is fully vaccinated. The Health Minister of Australia made a statement and said Therapeutic Goods Administration, which is their regulator, has thoroughly assessed the domestic and international evidence before extending its approval to the Pfizer vaccine to be administered to this age group. Quick look at sports, and of course we have to take you to Japan, where the Tokyo Olympics has now finally kicked off. Remember, it's the Tokyo 2020 Olympics now being held in 2021. It's delayed by over a year, but it's finally begun, but unfortunately being held without any spectators whatsoever. The opening ceremony saw India's contingent with 19 athletes being led in the front by boxer Mary Kom and India hockey team captain Manpreet Singh. Prime Minister congratulated the Olympic players of India on Twitter. One piece of positive news before we leave you for today. A team of 4 students from a government school in Ernakulam district in Kerala have bagged global recognition because they presented a business concept that would help filter coffee lovers indulge in their favorite drink without having to visit a coffee shop. They bagged the most popular choice Thai Global Student Pitch competition. Speaking to the Indian Express, the Student Entrepreneurship Program said the team was one of the 8 from the country to present their business idea at the global event. According to students present, the product shows a shelf life of 3 months. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening. Of course, I want to leave you with the quiz, and here is your quiz for today. I did tell you what the positivity rate on the testing of COVID in the state of Kerala is as of the last 24 hours. That is your question. What is the positivity rate on the tests on COVID in Kerala over the last 24 hours? This is to test and see if you've been paying attention to the news. Like the video, share it with your friends and family. Tell them that we're putting out a news bulletin with no noise whatsoever. Thank you for watching. Good night.